Hey guys, in this video we're going to be building a front end to the Slim PHP RESTful API that we created, that I created a few days ago. Alright, so before I start, I just want to mention a couple things, a couple important things. One, if you're going to be following along, copying the code, I'd strongly suggest that you go back and build the back end first by watching that video. I'll put a link in the description. If you're just watching, that's fine, but in order to code it all out, you'll need access to that backend API. Alright, I have it on GitHub, okay, this link right here. So you can download it and you can import the database, which is in this SQL file right here. Okay, it just has our customers table with some fields. So if you want to do that, but I'd still suggest watching the video so that you can get your virtual host set up and all that. Alright, the second thing I want to mention is that if you're looking to learn the basics of vue.js and you want good explanations of all the different fundamentals, then go back and watch my vue.js in 60 minutes video. Alright, this isn't a step-by-step tutorial, this is a project video, so I won't be explaining every single little piece of code because I want to get this done in a timely manner. Alright, so just keep those things in mind as you're watching this video. Now, if we take a look at the application we'll be building, you can see that we're listing all the customers that are in our MySQL database coming from the API, and we can actually filter by last name. If I go ahead and I add D in there, you'll see that it filters last name D, and if I continue to type, you'll see that it'll filter down to Doe. Alright, so we can filter the customers, we can list them. If we click View, it'll take us to customer / and then whatever the ID is. We can see the name, the contact info, the address, and so on. Alright, we can also delete. Okay, so if I click delete, you'll see we get a little alert. It says customer deleted, and Tom Doe is no longer there. Okay, we can also edit. So let's see, we want to edit Katie Dotson. Let's say we want to change her name to Catherine and submit. And you'll see that she's been updated. Alright, we can also add a customer. So let's go ahead and add John Doe. Oops. Okay, address, we'll say 3 Main Street, Miami, Florida. Okay, submit, and you can see that John Doe has been added. Okay, and then we just have a simple about page as well. So that's what we'll be building. I still have my Slim app backend set up from the last video we did. There are a couple things that we need to change from that video. Alright, a couple small things. One, we need to enable cores so that we can actually have cross-domain requests. So to do that, if we go into, I've already updated this in the GitHub. So if we go to source, routes, customers.php, right here is what you want to add. Okay, this will enable cores on your server. All right, you want to have allow origin by any domain. Okay, or you could put a specific domain where you're building your front end. But this will allow requests from anywhere. Okay, get, post, put, and delete requests. So just add these two blocks of code and that should work. The second thing, really simple, when we're getting our single customers, I should have actually did this in the last video, but we had it at fetch all right here. And what that does is it gets an array of objects, even though it's only one customer. And I don't want that. I want to return just a single object. So change fetch all to fetch. Alright, if you still have the code from the video. Those two things are all you should have to change on the back end. Alright. I actually have to change those things myself on my end. So I'm going to go ahead and just open up, let's see, htdocs, Slim app, routes, customers, and let me just pull this down. Okay, so I'm just going to grab this and we'll put that right here. And I'm also going to just change under single customer fetch all, we're going to change that to fetch. Okay, and that should that should be all set. So I'll save that, and now the back end is prepared, and we can continue with vue.js. Alright, so let's head over to vue.js, to the website, and we'll go to get started. And let's see, you want to click on installation right here. Alright, we're going to be using the Vue CLI. If you watch the my Vue in 60 minutes video, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead and you want to install Vue CLI if you don't have it. Okay, of course you need Node.js and NPM, but you want to run this. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to run that. And then we just want to generate a project like this, Vue init. Alright, so let's go to, let's see, I'm going to go to my projects folder. And this is where I want to create it, so I'm going to open up a command line. Okay, so let's go to projects. Alright, and we're going to do Vue init, and we want to use the webpack module. And then we'll name the application. I'm just going to call it v customers. Alright, and that'll go ahead and generate the application. Okay, it's just going to ask us a couple questions. We're going to enter through this. Let's say simple customer manager. Enter. That's fine. Okay, so I don't want to use ESLint, so I'm going to say no to this. Same thing with the testing. We don't need that. Alright, so now what we want to do is cd into v customers. And we're going to run npm install, and that'll get the dependency set up. Alright, so that's all set. Let's go ahead and run npm run dev, and that should start up our application. Oh, you know what? I have to change my port number on the dev server. So let's see, I'm going to open up my editor, and we're going to open up the full project folder, which is v customers. Alright, and you shouldn't have to do this if port 8080 is open on your machine, but I'm going to go to build and then dev server.js, and let's see, I'm just going to change this right here to port 8000. Alright, and we'll save that, run it again, and it should open on port 8000. Alright, so we have our boilerplate app running. Now I'm going to just kind of get rid of all the demo stuff. So let's go over to source, our src folder, and we're going to go to, let's see, app.vue, and let's get rid of this image right here. We'll get rid of the hello component, and for now let's just say test. Get rid of the import from hello, get rid of it right here. And we'll also delete the styling right here. Alright, so let's save that, and now we get test. Okay, no errors in the console, that's good. So the first thing I want to do is create, I want to create two components. I want to create customers, which will be basically our landing page, and then about, which will be just a simple about page. Alright, so in the components folder, what we're going to do is, let's actually just rename hello to customers. Oops. Okay, so customers.vue, and then we're just going to get rid of everything in this div with the class of hello. And let's change this class to customers, and we'll just put right here for now, customers. We're going to change the name of the component. Okay, we can get rid of this message value here, and let's get rid of all this styling. Alright, very simple. Let's save that, and then we're going to copy everything that's in it and create another component called about.vue. Paste that in, change this to about, and change this and this. Okay, we'll save that. Now if we go back to app.vue, and what we want to do, Actually, we're not going to use this at all, this file, because what we're going to do is set up our router in main.js so that we can load customers as our home page, and we'll have a navbar with some links, and we'll be able to go to the about page from there. All right, so we're going to have to install the Vue router. So I'm going to go back to the command line here, just stop it with Control-C, and we're going to say npm install. We want to install vue-router, and we also want to install vue-resource later on for when we make our HTTP requests. All right, so let's just add --save, and we'll go ahead and run that. All right, so that should be all set. Let's go ahead and run the server again, npm run dev. Okay, and then let's just get rid of this stuff here. We don't need any of this. All right, so now we're going to go to main.js, and we're going to bring in the Vue router. So let's say import Vue router, and that's going to be from vue-router. All right, and while we're here, we might as well bring in the resource. So Vue resource, and that's going to be from vue-resource. All right. Actually, you know what? That's going to be a lowercase v. All right, now we need to just add a little bit of middleware here. So we're going to say vue.use, and then we're going to pass in our Vue resource. And let's do vue.use, and we're going to pass in the Vue router. Alright, so now what we'll do is create our router object. So let's say const router, and we'll set this to new Vue router. And in here we'll pass in an object. We're going to say mode history. The base will be the current directory. We can say _dir name. Let's see, and then we're going to put our routes, which will be an array. Okay, so let's say path. This will be for the home, so just slash. And then we want to define the component that should load, which will be customers. Okay, then we want to have path, and let's say /about, and obviously we want to load the about component. Alright, now we have to import the customers and about components. So up here we're going to say import customers, and that's going to be from, let's see, /components /customers. Okay, and we'll do about. Components /about. All right. So we have our two routes here. Now what we want to do is go down to our instance, and we're going to get rid of the element right here. We don't need that. Template, we're going to clear that out for now. We're going to use backticks so that we can use multiple lines, and then we don't need this. And then we just want to, at the end here, say dot $mount, and we want to mount to the app ID. Now in here, we're going to put a div with the ID of app. Okay, and we want to put in our router-view. So this will just load whatever the current view is. Okay. Oh, I forgot to pass in router. I'm going to pass that in right here. All right. So if we save that, you can see that we're getting the customer's view because that's the root component. That's the root view. So that's what's being loaded. All right. We should be able to if we were to put in router dash link and say 2 equals slash about, that should bring us to about. Yep. Alright, now we're going to be using Bootstrap, so I want to implement the navbar. Alright, as far as bringing Bootstrap in, I'm just going to use the CDN. So let's grab that. Okay, so we'll grab this link, copy that. Let's change this title while we're at it. We'll say v customers. Let's say manage customers. Alright, now we'll put in a link rel style sheet, and let's put our href and paste that in. Okay, we're also going to need the JavaScript, and we're going to put that down here. So let's say script source, and we'll grab that as well. Okay, now we're also going to need jQuery for Bootstrap.js, so let's get that. Just grab this link here, and we'll put that, make sure you put it above the Bootstrap. Whoop. Didn't copy. Okay, paste that in, and we should be good to go. So now you can see the fonts changed and stuff. So now let's get a navbar. So we'll go to getbootstrap.com. Do this the quick way. We're going to go to examples, starter template, Control U, and let's grab this. Okay, and then we're just going to go back to main.js. So we can close that out. So in main.js, I'm going to go right above the router view and paste that in. And then what we'll do is change, let's get rid of the class active, change this to router link. We'll say 2/. Okay, we'll do the same thing with about. That's going to go to /about, and we'll get rid of the contact. Okay, let's also get rid of navbar fix top and change navbar inverse to navbar default, which will make it the light color. Alright, and then project name, we'll change that to v customers. Save it. Let's go back. Where is it? And there we go. So now if I click home, we get customers, about, we get about. Okay, no errors, good. So let's go ahead and go into the customers component. I'm going to add a class of container. Okay, and then we'll just add an h1. We'll give it a class of page header. And we'll just say manage customers. And let's go to about. Also add a container. Okay, we'll just say about. Save that. And there we go. So now what we want to do is bring in our customers from our API. So let's go over to the customers component. And we're going to add in the data here, customers, and we'll set this to an empty array. Now let's go under the data here, put a comma, and we'll say methods. And we're going to have a method called fetch customers. Okay, we're going to use the view resource module and say this dot $HTTP. Okay, we're going to make a GET request, and we want to make it to HTTP, and mine is in Slim app, I believe. /API/customers. Okay, then we're going to do .then, and in here our function with a response. And then what I'm going to do is just console.log, and let's log response.body. Okay, now this isn't going to run yet. What we're going to do is add it to a lifecycle hook called created, which runs whenever the component loads. So we're going to go down here, put a comma, and say created. Okay, make sure you don't put created inside methods. Okay, it doesn't go in there. And then we're just going to run this dot fetch customers. All right, so let's go ahead and save that. And there we go. So we're getting our customers from our API. Now, if you didn't add the enable cores, as I did in the beginning of the video, you're going to get an error saying something about allowing access. All right, so you want to enable cores on the server. So what we want to do, we obviously don't want to just console log it. We want to assign it to this customers right here. All right, so let's say this dot customers. Now we want to make sure it's in JSON format, so we're going to say json.parse, and let's pass in not request, response dot body. Now we should be able to access customers from within our view. So let's go up here, and what we're going to do is we're going to have a table. So I'm going to go ahead and paste the first part in. So we just have a table with a class of table and table striped. We have the T head with the table row, first name, last name, email, and then an empty one for the button. And then in the T body is where we want to loop through our customers. So we're going to put a table row, and we want to use the v-for directive, okay, which basically allows us to do a for loop. And we'll say customer in customers. Okay, so we're grabbing this value, which is being filled here by our response. So let's go ahead and put in our TD. Oops. Okay, so this is going to be the first name. So double curly brace, customer dot first name. All right, and I'm just going to copy that. Okay, so we'll have first name, last name, and email. And then the button's going to go here. I'm not going to put that in yet. All right, so let's go ahead and save that. And now you can see we're getting our customers. So the next thing I want to do is I want to be able to add customers. So for that, we're going to need another component. So in components, let's create a new file. And I know I'm going kind of fast here, guys, but it's a lot of code, so I want to get it done kind of quickly. And again, if you are having trouble understanding what's going on, I would suggest watching the 60 minutes video first. All right, so let's call this add.view. And I'm just going to copy what we have in about, paste that in. Okay, we'll change the heading to add customer. Change that to add. And then we'll save this and we'll create a route. So in main.js up here, let's go ahead and copy that. And we'll say add. Change this to add, which we have to import. Like that, and then what we'll do is add a link down here. Now I want the add link to be over here on the right, so what I'm going to do is copy this UL, paste that in, and we'll add another class of navbar right. Okay, we can delete one of these, and then we're going to change this one to add customer, and the link will be /add. Save it. Okay, so if I click on that, we get add customer. All right, so now we need to create our form. So let's go back to the add component. And inside the data here, we're going to have customer, and we're going to set that to just an empty object for now. All right, now up in the template, let's put form, and we're going to put a v on submit. Okay, so what that's going to do is when the form's submitted, it's going to call whatever function we put in here, which is going to be add customer. Okay. Now, just to save time, I'm going to paste this form in, and I'll go over it. So I separated it into 3 different parts, which are wrapped in a div with the class of well. Okay, so we have the customer info, which is the first name. We have a label. Then we have the input, which is a text. And notice that we have this vModel attribute, which is going to bind it to customer.firstname. Okay, we're doing the same thing with the last name. Then we have the contact area, which we have the email and the phone. Okay, you can see vModel, customer email, customer phone. And then finally we have the location info, which we have the address, the city, and the state. Okay, and then we just have a button with the type of submit. All right, so let's save that. Okay, that gives us a form. Now it just says add customer is not defined, so we have to add that. So let's go under data, and we'll say methods add customer. So this actually will take in the event object, and we want to say e.prevent default to prevent the form from actually submitting. And for now, let's just do a test. We'll say console log 1 2 3, reload, and if we were to submit this, you can see down here we get 1 2 3. All right. Now, as far as validation, I'm not going to do anything advanced. We're just going to make sure that there's a first name, a last name, and an email. So we'll do a simple if. Okay, we'll say if no this dot customer dot first name or actually, yeah, we'll just do that. So, or, copy that. Okay, so we'll change this one to last name and this to email. And for now, we're going to console log. What I want to do is create an alert component, okay, because we'll have different types of alerts. So I think that it should be in its own component. But for now, let's just say console log. Okay, and then we'll have an else. And I'm just going to put this in here as well. All right, and then what we want to do is we want to create an object from all the form fields. So let's say let new customer. Okay, that's going to be an object. And I'm just going to paste this stuff in. All right, so we're just creating an object here with all the fields and setting it to this dot customer dot and whatever that field. All right, and then what we want to do is take this object and we want to make a post request to our API and submit it. All right, so again, we can use the view resource. We'll say this dot money sign http dot post. And even though it's a post request, it's formatted just like the GET requests. And we want HTTP, slim app, or whatever you called, whatever you used for your API domain, /API/customer/add. All right, now we just want to put a second parameter here with that new customer object. Okay, and then we want to do then, and in here we'll have our function. This will give us a response. but all I want to do is redirect. So after it's inserted into our database in the back end, we want to redirect back to the home page. All right, now since we're using the router, we should have access to this dot money sign router, and then we can say dot push, which is basically redirect. All right, we want to go to let's see, we'll put an object path. We want to go to slash. All right, so let's go ahead and save that. Okay, now if we go to add customer, let's go ahead and try it out. We'll say Tom Williams phone. All right, so let's go ahead and submit, and there we go, Tom Williams. Okay, if we reload, he's still there. Good. Now I want to make sure that the request, the fetch user or fetch customer, is always called when this is updated. So in addition to putting it in the created hook, I'm going to copy that, put a comma. I want it in the updated hook as well. All right, just like that. So let's see, now when we submit this, I want to have an alert telling us that it's been submitted. Okay, it just looks nicer from a UI standpoint. So we're going to create a new component called alert.view. And for now, let's copy what we have in the about. Okay, and we'll just change. Actually, you know what? This is going to be formatted differently, but let's change this. And what I'm going to do is go to Get Bootstrap, and we're going to go to Components and Alerts. And I want to get the collapsible one, this one here, or dismissible, whatever. And we're going to copy this and then put that as our template. Okay. Now for this component, I want to be able to pass in a message when we call the component. So we're going to add a prop or a property right here. We'll say props and just pass in here message. All right, and then up here we're going to get rid of this line. We're going to replace it with whatever that message is. Alright, so that should do it for the component itself. So let's save that. And then in customers, we're going to import it. So let's go right here and say import alert from alert. Okay, let me just tab this over. And then we're going to put it, let's see, let's put it above the H1, and we'll say alert and say message equals, for now we'll just say test. Okay, now let's see, we're going to have to add it as a component. So down at the bottom here, we'll put a comma, we'll say components alert. And let's save it. Let's take a look. Unexpected token. Oh, I forgot the comma in the alert component. Right here. Alright, so let's save that. And now we have our alert component. Now obviously we don't want this to show all the time. So what we're going to have to do is add in our data, not in the alert component, in our customers component, we'll go right here and say alert, and we'll set that to nothing by default. And then up in the component, we're going to put a v-if, because we only want this to display if there's something in alert. So if we save that, now you'll see it's not showing. And then we also want, obviously we don't want to pass in test, we want to pass in whatever's in the alert. So what we'll do is add vbind to this. Okay, since we're putting in a variable, we need to use this vbind, and then whatever alert is. Alright, now the way that we're going to get the alert, okay, when we add a customer, what we can do is, if we go to our add component, and where we have this push, we're going to path home, we can actually send a query along with this. Okay, we can send information along with this. So what I want to do is send the alert message. So we're going to add a comma right here, and then we're going to say query, and let's say alert, and we'll say customer added. So now we can send this along to that route. So let's save it, and then we'll go back to our customers, and then what we need to do is check for that alert. So we'll go to created, because this is going to run when we're redirected back, and we're going to say if, we'll say if this dot money sign route dot query dot alert. Okay, so that means that there is an alert, so then we'll set this dot alert equal to this. Okay, equal to the alert that's coming in. So let's go ahead and save that, and then what I'm going to do to test this out, actually we'll just add another customer. So let's go back and say add customer. We'll say Jen Thompson Alright, so let's say submit, and now we get customer added. Okay, and we can cancel, we can close that with the X button as well. Alright, good. So we can now create and read customers, but we want to be able to get a single customer as well and get the rest of the information. So we need a view button over here that'll take us to a details component. Alright, so let's go ahead and create a new component, and we'll call this customer details.view. Okay, and again we'll just copy what we have in about. We'll change this right here to details. Okay, for now we'll just change this to details. For the name, it's going to be all lowercase, customer details. And let's save that. Now we want to create a route for this, so let's go to main.js, and we're going to go ahead and import that. And let's add a route. So the route is going to be customer slash and then colon ID. Okay, it's going to have an ID parameter, and we want to load customer details component. Alright, so let's save that. Now let's go to our customers.view file and go up to where our table is, and we're going to want to put a router link button in here. Alright, so let's say router link, and we're going to give it a class default. Now it's going to have a to attribute, but since we're going to have a variable in it, we're going to use vbind. So vbind colon to equals okay, and then inside this to, let's see, we're gonna put single quotes and then slash customer slash, and then go outside of the single quotes, and we're going to concatenate customer dot ID. Alright, let's save that. Now if I hover over it and you look down here in the corner, you'll see we get customer slash 4, customer slash 3. Click on that, takes us to the details. Now in the details, we want to again make a request to our API to get the single customer. So let's go to customer details, and we're going to go under the data, and let's say methods, and we'll create a method called fetch customer. And I'm just going to copy what we have in the customers right here. Okay, paste that in, and then let's change this route to API/customer. Let's see. Yeah, this is actually going to take in an ID, and then we're going to just concatenate, let's say /ID. All right, and then we want to set this .customer singular to the body. All right, now we want to call this when the page loads, so we're going to go under methods and add the created hook. Okay, we're going to call this fetch customer, and then we need to pass in the ID, which we can get from the parameters from the route. So this route params id. All right, and then once we assign this customer, we should have access to it in the template. Actually, we need to put it here first. That, and then up here, let's try and do customer dot first name. Okay, save it, and there we go. So we can get the first name. Let's put the last name. Okay, so now we can do the rest of the info. I'm going to paste this in. So we're putting to UL with the class of list group, and you can see we're using the Bootstrap icons, this glyphicon class, glyphicon-phone, and we put in customer.phone and customer.email. And then down here we just have the the location info. Alright, so if we save that, you can see we can get all that stuff. Alright, so we can now get individual customers. If I click on Sam Smith view, we get his info. Alright, and I just want to put a back button up above the H1. So we'll just put in router link, and we'll say to / Okay, so now we have a back button. So now what we want to do is we want to have an edit and a delete button on this page, on the details page. So let's go within the H1 right here, and let's say, I'm trying to think what I want to do here. Let's put a span. We'll give it a class of pull right, just to bring the buttons over to the right. And let's do the delete first, because that's easier. So we'll say button, and it's going to have a V on. So V on click, and we'll say delete customer. Okay, let's also give it a Bootstrap class, btn danger. Okay, so now we have a delete button. We also want to pass in the ID to this function, so let's put parentheses and we'll say customer.id. Alright, and then down here in our methods, let's say delete customer. Okay, that takes in an ID. And just to test it out, let's pass along the ID. Okay, so now let's reload this. If I click that, we get 2. Now we want to make a delete request, so I'm going to copy this, what we have in fetch customer, and we're going to change it to .delete, and we want this to go to API/customer/delete/ and then the ID. Alright, and then in here we just want to redirect, so let's get rid of that, and we'll say this dot router dot push. Okay, and we're going to put in here our path, which is going to be the home page. And we also want to pass along query because we want a message. So we'll say alert customer deleted. Alright, let's save that. And hopefully this works. We'll go to Jen Thompson, click delete, and we get customer deleted, and she's gone. Good. So we're almost there. We can create, read, and create, read, and delete. Now we need to be able to update. So for this, there's a couple ways you could do this. I'm going to actually create another component called edit with the edit form. So let's go ahead and do that. Edit.view, and it's very similar to the add form, so I'm going to just grab everything in there and paste it in edit. Okay, we'll go up to the top here, change that. The submit function here is going to be, let's say, update customer. This stuff will all stay the same. The V model, that can all stay the same. You could actually use the same form for add and edit, but I'm going to just separate it. Alright, and then let's see, down at the bottom, we're going to want to fetch the customer just like we did in the details. So we're going to have to add a route with a parameter. So for now, I'm going to just get rid of this add customer just for now. Actually, no, let's keep that because I guess we could just edit it now. So we'll just change that to update customer, and let's see, we want this, the checking here, and then we're going to build a new object. Let's change it to update customer. That can all stay the same, and then it's going to make a request, but we want to make a put request this time, and we want to make it to API/customer/update and /update, and then the ID is going to come from the route, so we can say slash and then this dot route dot params dot ID. Okay, and then we're going to pass along the update customer object, and then we're going to redirect. That's good. We'll change this to updated. Alright, so let's save that for now, and we're going to create a new route. So we're going to go to main.js, and we want to bring in edit, okay, and then let's copy this, change this to edit/ID component edit. Alright, so we'll save that. Now we need a button going to that route, so let's go back to customer details, go up to after where we have the delete button, which is right here. Alright, and for this we're going to use a router link. I'm actually going to put the edit button first, so we'll go right above the delete and say router link, and we can give this a class of btn and btn, let's see, default. We'll do primary, and then for our to, we want to use vbind, so vbind to and in here we want the route we want to go to, which is going to be let's see, slash edit slash, and we want to just add on to that customer ID. Alright, so that'll give us the button. So if we click that, we go to edit customer. Now these aren't filled in because we have to make our request to our API to get that current customer. Alright, so let's go down here. Actually, no, we want to go to edit.view. And let's go right above update customer, and we'll say fetch customer. Make sure you put a comma there. Alright, and it's the same fetch customer from the details page, so we can just grab that and go ahead and paste that in. Okay, that's going to take in an ID, and we want to go down and go to the created hook, which will go after methods. Function, and we're going to call this dot fetch customer, and we want to just pass in from the params, so this dot route dot params dot ID. Alright, and we're setting that to this dot customer, so that should then fill in all those fields. So let's save that, and now you can see all the fields are filled in. And we should be able to update it because we already did this update customer. So let's say Sam Smith, we want to change his email to, let's say, sam@yahoo. Okay, we submit, we get updated, and his email has been updated. Okay, so we now have full CRUD functionality. One thing I do want to do here is when we, for instance, add a customer and we forget the first name and stuff, and we try to submit, we get a console log. Alright, I actually want to use the alert component here. So let's go to our add component, and we're going to import the alert. So from /alert, and the semicolons, I always use semicolons, but by default when you use Vue CLI, you can see they don't use them, so you might see sometimes they are there and sometimes they're not. I'll just leave it off, I guess. I just want to tab that over. Alright, so we're bringing in the alert component, and then what we want to do is add that here in our data, so alert. And we want to go up here to the top above the H1 and say alert, and we'll have the vif and the vbind. So vbind message alert. Alright, and then down here where we have the test and we do the console log, we're going to just change that to, let's say, this dot alert, and we'll set that to that text. Okay, save it. And let's see, whoops, what happened here? Oh, this alert, I forgot the slash. Okay, so now if we try to submit, unknown custom element, oh, we got to register it. We just have to add it down here as a component. So we'll go after methods. That. Is that in there? Whatever. Alright. So let's save that and we'll try it again. Okay, submit. And we get, please fill in all required fields. Alright, and we want to do the same thing for the edit. So I'm just going to, let's see, we'll copy this. And we'll go to edit.view. Same thing. Okay, we need to import it. And we're going to, what else? Add it here. And change the console log, this dot alert. Okay, and then we just need to add it as a component. Okay, so alert. All right. So let's save that. Okay, so if I were to get rid of that and try to submit, we get our message. Good. So that's all set. Now, let's see. The last thing we need to do is just the filter. Now, this search filter was much easier in Vue 1.0 because there were predefined filters and search was one of them. So this was easier, but they took those out for some reason. I don't know if they're going to put them back later or what's going on with it, but we have to create our own, which isn't too bad. So first thing we'll do, we need to go to our customers.vue, and we're going to put in an input, a text input, right below the H1. So we'll say input, and let's see, we're going to give this a class of form control. And let's give it a placeholder, and we'll say enter last name. Okay, and then we're going to give it a V model of filter input. All right, and then we're just going to put a line break below it. All right, so now we have our input. Okay, so we need to add that filter input in our data. That's what it's complaining about. And let's see what else. We're going to go into the methods right under fetch customers. And let's say filter by. Okay, this is going to take in list and value. And let's say return list dot filter, and that's going to take in a function. Okay, inside here let's say customer, and then we just want to return customer dot last name, and we want the index of, so index of the value, and then we're going to say greater than -1. All right, and then up here where we have the V4, and we have customers, we're just going to wrap this in filter by. And we're also going to pass along the filter input, okay, which is whatever we're typing in the text box is going to get passed along in here. Okay. So let's go ahead and save that. Okay, so if I were to do, let's say S, you'll see we get Sam Smith. Now notice that if I do lowercase s, oh, wait a minute, that's not right. Yeah, if I do a lowercase s, it's different. So what we're going to do is, as we type that in, we want it to automatically capitalize the first letter so that it works. So let's see, let's go to filter by, and we're going to say value equals value dot char at. Okay, we want the first character, which is 0. and then we just want to call two uppercase, and then we're going to say value.slice 1. Okay, so let's see if that works. If we say S, there we go, Smith. Okay, T. Yep. All right, so that's working. Good. And we can just add some text to the about. This is a customer manager app built with the vue.js framework. And we'll say version 1.0.0. Alright, cool. So we can now create, read, update, and delete customers from the PHP API that we created. So we have a front end and a back end. Alright, so that's going to be it. I know that this video was quick and there was a lot of code and a lot of information. I know that some of you may have gotten a little confused along the way. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. If I can't answer them, I'm sure someone else will be able to help you out. But hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, please leave it a like. Please subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And I will see you in the next video.